brand new movie that just hit theaters. The film's co-written and directed by David Michaud. This is his first directorial film since 2019's Netflix film The King. This movie tells the story of Christy Martin, who in this movie is played by Sydney Sweeney. This tells the true story of the first female boxing superstar as she changed the game for women's boxing, making it not just a hobby and a cheap pay, you can make a career as a women's boxer. If you go through her life before she becomes a boxer in the late 80s to her becoming this boxing sensation in the 90s, and then her conflicting marriage that mostly took place from 2000 to 2010. Also, in the movie is Ben Foster as Jim Martin, who is Christie's husband and trainer. It is a big contentious point throughout the entire film. Merritt Weaver's in the movie as Christie's mother, Joyce, who is trying to raise the daughter that she has always wanted, might not be getting the same thing in return. And Katie O'Brien is in the movie as well as one of Christie's rival boxers. The film is 2 hours and 15 minutes and is rated R. Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new review here on Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Zimmer. We're talking Christy. So if you're new to the channel, guys, please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell for notifications. I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, added theater reactions, box office breakdown shows, and movie franchise rankings. So please subscribe, ring the bell if you're new. Comment down below. What are your thoughts? First of all, have you heard of Christy Martin? Was this your introduction to Christy Martin? Love to hear your thoughts on this. Should this movie be an awards movie? Let me know down in that comment section down below. And also, guys, please hit that thumbs up button. So I am, if you're new to the channel, I am just as big of a movie fan I am a sports fanatic. And while boxing is a sport I definitely do not watch, especially on a consistent basis, it takes a real rarity for me to be watching like a live boxing match. I know the history at times of men's boxing, but the thing I really don't know at all going into this movie was women's boxing and the impact of Christy Martin. Just a story I had not been told. And I have been getting very tired of the biopic genre. If it's music, if it's sports, just these biopics have not been working for me over the last 5 years. And even as a sports fan, it's tough for me to get excited excuse me, for biopics. But I gotta say, this to me is the biggest surprise of 2025. As I did not have high expectations, I think this is an excellent sports biopic that gives you what you want when you're coming into a sports biopic, gives you some really, good enough boxing sequences. Kind of that underdog story of, trying to make it in women's boxing, not just make it, she's making $400 and then she's trying to make thousands upon thousands and then millions of dollars being in women's boxing. It gives you that underdog rah-rah story that you want in a sports biopic. But the best part of the movie, honestly, is not the boxing stuff. It's more the family drama, her relationship with her mom, her relationship with her husband, and the craziness that is the last 40 minutes of this movie is incredible. And I would say this, if you don't know anything about Christy Martin going in, like I didn't, don't research anything before you go see this movie. It's kind of rare when you're watching a biopic and there is an unpredictable nature of a biopic. So many times, including in movies you don't know about the real life person, you can just predict the highs, the lows of a situation like this. And I was doing that in the middle of this movie. I was like, I kind of know where this is going, the relationship between where Christy and Jim go. And then it just subverts you multiple times because of the real life horror stories of the last 30 to 40 minutes of this movie. And it threw me for a loop in such a surprising way. Now, while I'm saying that, I'll get into some of those things, not in spoilers, obviously. But Sydney Sweeney is unbelievable in this movie. It is my favorite performance of the year, male or female, so far. It is a breathtaking performance, and I am someone who is a big fan of Sydney Sweeney. Euphoria is one of my 2 or 3 favorite shows of all time. I covered Euphoria here on the channel. I haven't loved her projects, post season 2 of Euphoria, but this is an unbelievable performance. Which, yeah, she gets in boxing shape and physically she looks different than she does in other projects, but she has obviously that likability where you want to root for her throughout the entire film. She can be, flip in an instant, be this ultra competitive, cocky boxer, and then she could come off as the most innocent, um, person in this situation. Her performance, the emotional toll of this marriage really comes through all on her shoulders from a performance perspective. And she is so magnetic in this movie. It's a movie that I hope gets recognized, but really she needs to be recognized throughout awards season. It is one of the best performances, if not for me, my favorite of the year so far. Ben Foster, who I have loved for over a decade, just hasn't gotten a lot of respect in the mainstream. But he's playing also a really vindictive, charming, yet very scary character in this movie, where you can kind of picture what his character is in this type of story with Jim, and him and Sydney Sweeney have just a great chemistry, but he can go down some very dark paths, and Ben Foster, I think, is extremely well cast here. The whole ensemble, I think, is very strong. But as I said, it's the first, I would say, hour of this movie is kind of the run-of-the-mill generic sports biopic, which is it's good enough because Sydney Sweeney is so amazing, but we kind of been there, done that. It was kind of the movie I was expecting going in was the first hour. The moment the second hour of this movie hits, it becomes unpredictable, wild. So many things in this movie, I was like, that definitely couldn't have happened in real life, did happen in real life. And I think it's a very powerful movie because a lot of the key emotional traumatic events in this movie take place in like 2010, like 15 years ago. And I think it shows us while we've come so far as a society as it pertains to standing up to people and caring about domestic violence and abuse and LGBTQ community, all of these other things. We've evolved so much into acceptance into those people and backing up people and stopping domestic violence at all costs, all of those things. But it still remains that even in 2010, which is just not that long ago, 15 years ago, things that happen in this movie still happen where people were boxing, they couldn't be an open lesbian, or they're in this domestic relationship and other people around them just watch and observe instead of actually stepping in and helping out. And this was 15, 20 years ago. This was still the case. So I think it's still a wake-up call because this should just not be a thing in 2025. And the fact that probably isn't in a lot of cases is also sad. It's definitely an eye-opening movie in that case. On a low, as the first hour is definitely a run-of-the-mill generic sports biopic. The key relationship I wanted done better was the mom and the daughter relationship. I think it's the most cliche part of the movie. And I totally understand you kind of have a lot of disdain for Christy's mom, but you just barely get anything with Christy's dad and brother, and they're in every scene with the mom. And I think it would have been a way more complex situation because the dad and the brother clearly feel differently than Christy's mom about every situation Christy's in, but it's so focused on the cliche, rough mother-daughter relationship instead of the complex family. I think if the movie took a bigger look at the complex family situation than just this cliche, stereotypical mother-daughter bad relationship, I think the movie would have been elevated there. I think it's definitely a major key piece from this movie. But overall, I think this is an excellent sports biopic that I think deserves to be seen in theaters. Sydney Sweeney gives the performance of the year, and it has so many great twists and turns. If you're not familiar with the story, it just keeps you on the edge of your seat, and once you get up in your chair and clap at certain points as well. I'm going to give Christy a 4 out of 5 stars. I'm going 82% for Christy. What are your thoughts on this movie, guys? Let me know down in the comment section down below. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, like this video, and I'll see you guys in another video very soon.